Hey there guys, I'm Will and welcome to FP1. Now, last week I uploaded a video looking at your bold predictions on the 2020 F1 season, and I threw in some of my own out there as well. But the video was so popular and the extra original tweet got a load more messages after I'd filmed the original one, so I thought, why not do a part 2? If you did miss part 1, then I'll leave a link. It'll be in one of these corners. I can't remember what way around it is on YouTube these days. But yeah, the link will be somewhere on the screen now, so you can give that a watch, and then you can come back to this one. Without further ado, then, let's get into more of your bold predictions on the 2020 Formula 1 season. So the first one comes in from Megan. We've been hit with a double header straight away. She said that McLaren will end up on the podium and that Red Bull will win the Constructors' Championship. So let's tackle these one at a time. McLaren on the podium. I can see it, to be honest. Last year, obviously, we had Sainz getting on the podium at that fantastic Brazilian GP. Can it happen again? I think it will take another crazy sort of race, but definitely. Now, Red Bull on the top of the Constructors' Championship. I mean, they look like the second fastest car, but like I said, they're the second fastest car. I don't know. I mean, technically the tracks that we are seeing at the moment in the calendar will favour Red Bull more than maybe Mercedes, but I still think the Mercs will have that pace advantage and overall the consistency over the season to take home that Constructors title. I mean, maybe I'll be wrong, and it would be nice to see someone else out on top of that championship for a change, but I don't know. It would be cool to see. I'll be honest, it would be cool to see. But for me, I'm not sure on that second bit. So the Apex Motorsport are back in with another one in this video. Now they've said both Renaults will finish inside the top 6 in one race. Whoa, okay. This is an interesting one. So Renault as a constructor at the moment, they're looking to be maybe the 5th or the 6th fastest team. It really depends on where that Racing Point, McLaren, sort of, yeah, where that kind of field lines up in the end. But you know what, maybe they could. Like I said before with the McLaren one, it would take an absolutely crazy race. I can see maybe one of them doing it here and there, but both of them, that's a big push for me. That's just my opinion anyway. But if you think I'm wrong, let me know down in the comments. Moving on, but sticking with the midfield, we've got Avashek saying that Racing Point will win a race. Oh, there's going to be there's a trend here, but it's going to take another Germany or another Brazil for something like that to happen. In terms of obviously he's come out with this pink Mercedes, and yeah, the aero looks the same. What a lot of people, I guess, haven't realised is you can make a car that looks like a Mercedes, but it will not be as quick as a Mercedes, and that's just because F1 is so finely tuned. The angles and the measurements that they make have to be to such a massive degree and such an accurate level. Otherwise, you're just not going to get that same amount of performance. Even so, if that Racing Point is as fast as last year's Mercedes, that's not going to put it anywhere near the front runners. They will have made steps up with their own cars as well. So, can I see him winning a race? No. Podiums? Definitely. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a podium or two in there. So, Beth has come in with the next one saying that Grosjean will outscore Magnussen. Yeah. For me, no. I mean, if you think about it, the Haas is looking like the second slowest team only to Williams. So maybe if we get a crazy race and Magnussen's out and maybe Grosjean can squeeze into the top 10, that might do it. That's the only scenario that I can really see it. For me, if we went through a season without any sort of crazy mad races, which I don't think we will, we'll have one or two in there, but if we go through a very boring season, you know, Magnussen for me is going to come out on top. And even if that is on count back after 0 points, I'm not sure. But I think that Haas is really going to struggle this year. They did not look quick in testing. They did not look reliable in testing. And they just seemed like there was something wrong with that car. So we'll see if, you know, my prediction is got any traction to it at all when we get to Australia in just a couple of days' time. But Australia? Ha! Like a dream. Austria in a couple of days' time. But yeah, for me, I think Magnussen will win out that battle. Maybe Grosjean can, but yeah, I just think he's past his prime now. Next up, we've got another F1 YouTube channel who is doing bits at the moment. We've got Ben from BMPH F1. Now, he said Nicholas Latifi will have a top 10 finish. Well, Kubica managed it, so maybe. But for me, if I was going to have to put out any of the Williams cars to get into the top 10, and we spoke about this in part 1, it's got to be George. I think George is going to be that guy that's going to bring it into the points. That Williams, I think, is going to be challenging for on the closer end of the bottom 10, if that makes sense, a little bit more often this year. I think he's going to be around those P11, P12 positions a bit more often. I think that Williams is still the slowest car, but it's a lot closer to the big pack than it was last year. Maybe that means they can sneak the odd top 10 finish. Can Latifi get points? Possibly. it'd take a little bit of luck though. That's just my view on it. So next up we've got Finley, who has said McLaren and Racing Point will finish ahead of Ferrari. Now Ferrari came into testing with not the best car, it's got to be said, and they apparently had some issues in the wind tunnel back in January, which is why the car didn't look particularly great. But will they be beaten by McLaren and Racing Point? No. Back at pre-season testing, maybe I would have said Racing Point by the mid part of the season, but then Ferrari would have come back. But for me, Ferrari will at least get third in the championship. I can't see him stepping further back than that. There's only going to be up from there. Maybe second if Red Bull have an absolute dog of a season, but I can't see that happening. I think Ferrari, unless they've done something magical over this lockdown period, which I'm not sure they have got engine upgrades, which they're bringing to Austria. We'll see in a couple of days. But yeah, I'm going to say Ferrari third. Racing Point and McLaren, the gap has got closer, and I think they'll be fighting them a little bit more in the races. But overall, with the consistency that Ferrari team can produce over a season, I'm going to say they're going to stay third and not slip back behind that position. Can you imagine though, if Ferrari were beaten by either just one of them, McLaren or Racing Point, that would hit them harder. There will be jobs on the line if that happened, I think. But hey, let's see. So next one comes in from Gabriel, and he said Gio will outscore Kimi. Now, this is an interesting one. I've seen quite a lot of debates about this at the moment. Now, going back to last season, Giovinazzi had a pretty awful first half of the season and didn't start the second half on the best foot, crashing out the final lap in Spa. But from then on, he brought it back, and I think he did outscore Kimi in the second half of the season. Now, will he do it over the whole course of this year? Maybe. And looking back at past results, if Gio is still that comfortable with that Alpha car, then definitely. But for me, I think Kimi might still come out on top on this one. And again, it's just on a consistency basis. Gio's still quite young. I still think he's going to make the mistakes that Kimi won't make anymore, if that makes sense. Or at least he'll make more of those sort of mistakes. And that's going to hurt him by the end of the season. Again, that Alpha car, we don't really know where it is at the moment. It's not going to be fighting at the top of the midfield for sure. It's going to be quite difficult for that team to get the point finishes. So if any of those drivers get into the points, that will be massive. It will really help them in the Drivers' Championship. Okay, next one comes in from Jeb, and we've got pretty much an essay here, so we'll go through it. So he said Racing Point beat best of the rest in regards to teams. Yeah, I can see that. Maybe in the first half of the season, I think they're going to slip behind, and I think that's because, again, if they have copied that Mercedes, there's not going to be much more they can do to it to really build up that car anymore, and they won't have as great an understanding. It's like copying someone's homework and getting to the exam and realising, I copied his homework, I didn't actually learn all the stuff to begin with. So I think Racing Point will find it very difficult to find meaningful upgrades to add to that car. But maybe I'll be wrong, we'll see. But I think maybe by a halfway point they'll be maybe fourth, but I think in the second half of the season they're going to start falling behind, while the likes of McLaren and Renault can start building up and kind of outperforming them in the development race. So the next point he's made was Leclerc and possibly Verstappen becoming legitimate rivals to Hamilton and possibly fighting him for the title. This I would love to see. I think we are due a proper title fight, not just between teammates, but between more than one team, more than two teams. If we can get all three teams going for the championship, think back to a great season like 2010 was the best one. We had 4 or 5 drivers with a few rounds to go, all capable of winning the championship. If we get something like that, that would be incredible. Like, I think we deserve that after everything we put up with this year, all the crap, all the cancellations. That would be just brilliant, wouldn't it? So I hope. I'm not 100% certain about Leclerc. I think that Ferrari will let him down, but we'll just have to wait and see. So next one he's put down is Albon getting his first win. Maybe. I think podiums are more likely. He'll definitely get a podium, but will he get a win? I think Red Bull will focus too much on Max to allow Alex to get a win. Alex might have the pace to win the car, but I think he's going to get let down by strategy and team orders at the end of the day, because Max, I think, is going to be the guy more likely to be fighting for the championship. That's just my view. I would love to see him win a race. I think he's a great guy, but I think he could get let down by the team on this one. So the last one that's down here then is Williams closing the gap and will start getting regular finishes outside of P16 or 17. Now, this one, I touched on it briefly earlier, so I won't go into too much detail, but I think they are definitely closer to the back end of the midfield now. Will they be able to get to the points on as regular as they were maybe back in 2015-16? No, but they're definitely made a good step, and that team needs these sort of finishes right now. So I do hope they can do it. I think they might get the odd points finish over the course of the season, but they'll probably still end up last for me. So we've got a double header for the next one. I'm going to join these two tweets together. We've got Sam, who has said that Vettel will be in the title fight, and then Ollie from TGS F1 has come out and said that Vettel will finish ahead of Leclerc in 2020. Yes, I'm going to get a lot of hate for that, but I did mention it back in part 1 that I think Vettel could come out on top this year, and that's just on the grounds that, you know, it's his last year with Ferrari, possibly his last year in the sport on a whole, and he's not going to care about anything like regarding to the team or team orders or anything like that. He's going to go in and race and put in as much effort as he can to try and beat Leclerc and end his career on a high. And I think he could do it. I genuinely think he could. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Sebastian Vettel of old, like a 2012, 2013 Sebastian Vettel emerge again in his last season and just prove Ferrari that they shouldn't have dropped him. And the last one today comes from Natalie. Now, she's said that Red Bull win the Constructors' title. We've already covered that earlier on. But Daniel will own Esteban. I don't feel like I can talk about this being a massive Danny Rick fan, but yeah, I think Esteban is taking a year out, and I think that's going to hurt. He didn't actually do much actual racing in that year as well. Now, he'll get up to speed and probably be matching Daniel towards the end of it or getting a lot closer to him, but I think given the fact this is a shortened season and every single one of your result is going to count, you know, at the start, I think Daniel's edge over Esteban is going to really, you know, do bits in terms of his position and Esteban's position in the Drivers' Championship. That's just my view. If you think Esteban will win, then, you know, you're a bit adventurous, but let me know down in the comments. We'll have a good old debate down there. But yeah, last one is quite an interesting one, quite good one to end on as well. So Lando and Carlos will have tense on-track moments. This is something that I think nobody wants to see, obviously with the bromance going on between those two at the moment. For me, I think it would be very interesting. I think Netflix would have a field day if they did, but ooh, I don't know. I think given that McLaren is getting quicker, and obviously, you know, Lando, he's settled in that team now, he's going to be able to get a bit more of a flying start than he did last year. Maybe, just maybe, it would be very interesting to see how that relationship, whether it stays harmonious, kind of like a Vettel-Kimi relationship, or whether it descends into the Hamilton-Rosberg kind of fiasco that we saw back in 2014 to 2016. So that would be really interesting to see. I think obviously now Carlos is leaving, that won't matter beyond the end of the season, but it would be very, very interesting to see how McLaren deal with that if things did go sour. But yeah, that is an interesting one. So that's it then for your predictions. Let me know down below who you think is going to win on Sunday. We'll be able to go back and see if anyone was right. I'm going to say it here, I think it's going to be Hamilton. I know a lot of people are saying Verstappen given his recent success at the circuit, but for me, it's just, yeah, it's got to be Hamilton. I think Mercedes is going to come out flying, and yeah, they're going to come out and look very, very quick. But hey, that's just my opinion. Let me know down in the comments below. And of course, while you're down there, don't forget to leave a like and of course subscribe to the video as well. With that all said and done then, I hope you have a lovely rest of your week, and I will see you all in the next one.